15 years, 9 months, and 16 days ago, I laid to rest my grandfather. I remember sitting around and noticing everybody dressed in black and crying. Today I'd like to talk to you about the burial rituals in America, India, and Mexico. How the religion in each country dictates if they will see their loved ones again, and how they go about burying them. In America, thanks to thefuneralsource.com, I have learned that there are 3 parts to the burial rituals in America. First is the visitation, where the deceased is brought to an area so that loved ones can say their last words and goodbyes. The next stage is the funeral, where the person is brought to the site where they will be buried. A priest or a preacher will say some words, and then finally a family member will give a eulogy. The last stage in an American burial ritual is the actual burial, where the deceased is either buried in the ground or cremated. And because Christianity is the majority ruler of religions in America, they believe that if the loved one is saved and the family members are saved, they will see each other again one day in heaven. But if not, then they believe that you will no longer see your loved one once they pass. In India, Hinduism is the main religion. And they believe that once a person dies, they are reincarnated. But in order for that person to be reincarnated, a specific ritual has to fall in place before the deceased has passed away or shortly after the deceased has passed. When the loved one is dying, family members come around and they chant hymns and mantras, and they place the dying person on a grass mat on the floor. Water from the Ganges River is placed in the person's mouth. And once the deceased has passed away, it is no longer deemed pure for them to touch the body. If the person has already died before the family can do this ritual, they must do it before they can follow the rest of it, or the person cannot be reincarnated. Shortly after this, the family members will gather around and they will praise and talk about their life with the loved one. Once that is done, only the men are allowed to transport the deceased to the Ganges River, where he or she will be cremated. The day after the cremation, the burial process actually starts. The body is cremated and then returned to the Ganges River. Once that is complete, they believe that the body will be reincarnated. In Hinduism, they are allowed 13 days to mourn. The day of cremation to 13 days later are all they're allowed to mourn. 1 year from the day of cremation, they return to have a celebration. And in Mexico, where the Catholic religion is very strong, and so are the deep roots of the Mexican tradition, they, like America, they have a lot of the same routines as we do. The only difference is that as the deceased is passing away, they have a priest come in and absolve them of all of their sins. They have a wake where they put the deceased on an altar and they praise his entire life. And then from there, they transport him to where he will be buried. And they also believe that one day a year, October 31st at midnight, the gates of heaven open and only the children are allowed to return. From November 1st to November 2nd, they celebrate and spend all the time in the streets with ordained, wonderful, beautiful ornaments and just a giant parade celebrating the return of the children to spend with their families. Once the gates have closed, though, they go back to things as normal. So again, I'd like to talk to you today about the different burial rituals in America, in India, and in Mexico. I have done extensive research from thefuneralsource.com, everplans.com, and dying.lovetoknow.com. I feel I am very able to speak with you about this because I have done the research. Thank you.